everyone. Hi. Welcome back to another live English class. I hope you're all well. And let me know how you've been this week. I can see that Stacey and also Chan also both are already in the chat. So hi to you guys. Welcome. How's everyone been doing? So yes, as you might notice, I'm in a slightly different location for today's live English class. It's very exciting. We're in my living room today rather than my bedroom because I'm home alone at the moment. I've got the whole house to myself for a week. So I can live stream from any location in the house. So I chose to do it in the living room today. Dong Han says, the day after tomorrow, I'll be in London. Oh, how exciting. They've asked, what shall I do? Oh, that's a good question. So luckily for you, Dong Han, the lockdown has basically ended in the UK. So that's very good. So you should definitely check out some pubs, some cafes, and some restaurants and get like a nice meal or a drink outdoors. I think what I would recommend for you to do would maybe be go visit South Bank. So South Bank is an area of London near the Thames, and there's lots of nice restaurants and pubs and stuff. Then might be fully booked because it's the weekend, but if not, it's a really nice atmosphere. So you could always go buy like a tinny, which is what we call a can of beer. Go buy a tinny from Tesco and go sit by the River Thames and just sort of soak up the ambiance, soak up the atmosphere of everything around South Bank. There's also the Tate Modern around that area as well, so that could be nice for you to go and visit. Go look at some of the exhibitions there, and also if you walk along the river a little bit. Then you will find, oh goodness, what's it called? It's like a marketplace. Oh, Borough Market, which I really enjoyed visiting in the summer when I lived in London. There's a really good pasta restaurant there, but I can't remember the name of it, but it was also always like fully packed. I went with a friend and you couldn't book, you had to just join a virtual queue. So you'd go up with your phone and join the queue. And really miraculously, like we just showed up, it looks like it was like totally busy and someone just happened to get up and leave just as we were arriving. So we managed to get seats and it was really, really fantastic. But they have really good pasta. So, oh gosh, I'm going to try Google it now for you actually, quickly. Pasta restaurant, Borough Market. Might take me a minute. Oh. Where was it? No, not Bournemouth. There we go. It's called Padella, I think. Yes, Padella. So if you go to Borough Market in London, I would really, really recommend Padella, Italian restaurant. The pasta there is so delicious. So yeah, that is my recommendation for you, Dongha. I hope that is helpful. 123 says, hello, teacher. Hi, 123. As does Megino, and G. Abu says hi. Over the Moon says the Tate Modern is a must. So yeah, you've got to go to the Tate Modern. And Dongha says Borough Market, heard of it? Yes, it's very, very famous. And as well as Padella, there's loads of other like food stalls and stuff, and there's loads of stuff for you to try. And it's just, because it's like kind of outside, it's quite accessible during these like not lockdown, but these kind of COVID restriction times. It's still a fun like environment for you to be in. So yeah, I think that's definitely a good recommendation for the current restrictive corona times in London. Yi Lim says, oh, Padella, I've tried it before. I think there's actually a couple Padellas in London, but it's really good pasta in my opinion. It's very delicious. Now I really want pasta. Jessica says, hello from Brazil. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the live stream. And Gayung says, hello, Flora. Hello, Gayung. I hope you're well. So yes, Hello to everyone. I hope you've all had a lovely week. I'm trying to think of any updates from the UK. Oh, I thought of one the other day, but I've forgotten it. That's so annoying. I guess the only thing that I've been up to recently is I did a 12K run last week, which I was quite impressed with because I'm not usually a runner. But I really pushed myself and I did that last weekend and I was so tired after it, but I felt really good. So yeah, that's like one update from over here. But apart from that, I can't really think about anything else. JX says, hi Flora, the background seems to have changed. Yes, anyone who's just come into the live stream, I said at the beginning of the stream, but we are in a slightly different location today. We're in my living room. So yeah, welcome to my living room. Jiwoo says hello, and Over the Moon says, I've got really itchy feet. Yes, me too. I really, really want to travel so badly. I think, actually me and my friends are starting to organise some trips because lockdown restrictions are easing again, hopefully, on the 17th of May. So we're planning a trip to visit my friend in Surrey, which is a very nice kind of countryside area. It's a county just outside of London. And my friend lives in a little village there and she lives very near the countryside. So we're going to go and have lots of nice walks together. So that's very exciting. And also I've got two friends that live in Edinburgh and we're planning a trip in June to go visit them. So that's some very exciting news. Over the Moon says, I'm also a runner 3 days a week. Good job, Over the Moon. Well done. How are your shins? I get really bad shin splints, which is basically like this shooting pain in your shin bone. And I thought it was literally like an injury in my shin bone. But it turns out the reason you feel the pain there is actually because your calf muscles, I've forgotten the proper name for them, but the muscles on the back of the bottom of your leg, if they're really weak, then you're going to get pains in your shin. So I have been stretching those and it's really improved. But yeah, it's a very common complaint among runners is that your shins really hurt. So yeah. All right, I think enough people have entered the chat room now that we can get started on today's topic. So today we are going to be talking about British culture. So we're going to be talking about, once I've got my slides up, some do's and don'ts, mainly don'ts, of British culture. So, yes, don't make these 5 mistakes. So I will be going through and talking to you about 5, like maybe cultural or errors in like customs and stuff. And so hopefully the next time you visit the UK or if you live in the UK, you can avoid making these mistakes. So maybe this will be helpful for you, Dongha, to try out now that you are in London. Okay, let's get started. So actually, before we get started, I'm doing a new section of the live stream. So at the beginning of the live stream, I am going to ask you a trivia question and the answer to this question will be revealed at the end of the lesson. So before the mini quiz, I'll reveal the answer to this trivia question. So don't answer now, hold back, don't put any clues in the chat, but I want you to have a think and don't use Google. Don't cheat and use Google, but can you guess by the end of the lesson, what is the highest mountain in Britain? So yeah, what is the name of the highest mountain in Britain? So yeah, I will be telling you the answer to this at the end of the lesson. So you got to make sure you stick around to hear the answer. Okay. All right, so custom error number 1. So the first don't we're going to look at today is, moving everything around, is don't call all British people English. So this is the first one because I think that this is probably one of the more important ones, and it could be quite an easy mistake for an international person to make if you don't know the culture and history of the UK really well. So the United Kingdom, the UK, includes 4 countries. So we're one country made up of 4 countries. And these are England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. We're all ruled by the Queen. She's our monarch. Although these days that doesn't mean very much. And we're all represented in Parliament in London, but each country, so Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, will have its own Parliament or assembly, and they make their own laws. We have the same currency, however, it might look a little bit different depending what country you're in. I know the notes in Scotland, they are sterling, which is the currency in the UK. But they have different people on their money. They'll have historical Scottish figures rather than the Queen, for example. I think. But yes, we also have very similar laws. However, there are distinct cultural differences between the countries. For example, we have different history, obviously, and different heritage, as well as regional dialects and accents. Because throughout the history of the UK, these countries have always kind of been fighting over territory a little bit. So that means that there's been lots of changes in power and these kinds of things back in ancient history, which has led to these very distinct cultural differences and distinct histories and distinct narratives and whatnot, national narratives and national identity. Also, as I just said, all the countries don't have the most pleasant history together. We haven't always been the best friends. Usually it's been England in conflict, especially with Scotland and Ireland. So the reason that Northern Ireland are part of the UK, but the rest of the Republic of Ireland is its own totally separate country, is because there was quite a tumultuous time period in the UK. I'm sure lots of you guys have heard of this, but it's referred to as the Troubles. And it was essentially a war that happened in Ireland in, I believe, the 1980s and the 1990s. I haven't looked up the dates specifically, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But yeah, that was basically some people. I think maybe the whole of Ireland used to be a part of the UK, and some people wanted to be independent, some people didn't want to, and then that is kind of why this bit, Northern Ireland, is part of the UK and the rest of it is not. So it's quite a complicated and very not controversial, but maybe emotional topic for some people. So yes, that is why especially Scottish, Welsh and Irish people would be quite offended if you called them English because of this historical and cultural background. So don't call all British people English, but do call them by their specific nationality: Scottish, Irish, Welsh or English. And if you want a word to say all of them, it is British. So there you go. Chan says he was just Googling the trivia question, but he didn't see the answer, which is very good because don't cheat. 123 asks, Flora, is your accent Londoner accent? That's a really good question. No, it's not, but there probably are some people in London that sound like me. The accent I have is called received pronunciation, or RP. They say it's kind of non-regional, but I would disagree. I would say that it's kind of non-regional southern, if that makes sense. I sound like I'm from the south of England. I don't at all sound like I'm not from the north, that I'm from the north. I have the accent of a town called Brighton. That's my hometown. And a lot of people here sound exactly like me. And yeah, it's kind of not a too strong accent, I suppose. It's kind of just quite generically English, or generically Southern English. So yeah, my accent is received pronunciation. Shay says hi. Hi, Shay. And Over the Moon asks a very interesting question. What does the Commonwealth mean? And I'm going to try my best to answer this question. I think I know. I should know. But if I get anything wrong, feel free to call me out in the comments and correct me. But the Commonwealth is essentially the group of countries that the British Empire used to be the British Empire's colonies, that haven't gained like independence. So these countries include, and I'm probably going to miss a bunch of them because our education on the Commonwealth and the British Empire in England in general isn't the best. Like, we don't really learn very much about it at school, which I think's not good at all. I think we should learn much, much more about it. But I believe the countries in the Commonwealth are Canada. Do you know what? I'm going to Google it because I've got Google right here. Why not? Commonwealth countries. But it will be... definitely Australia. I'm still trying to find it down here. Come on, Wikipedia. Why aren't you giving me a list? Okay, that did not work. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah. So we've got, according to a picture I found on Google, we have Australia, the Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados. I don't know if these are all still part of the Commonwealth or if they just have been, but they're not anymore. I'm not sure. Canada is one of them. Ghana, apparently. New Zealand. Obviously, the United Kingdom. Yeah, lots of countries that are in the Caribbean, and also I think some African countries as well, and apparently Cyprus. So I didn't know that, actually. So that's news to me. But yeah, there's a lot of countries across the world that are part of the Commonwealth, and basically this is because they were a ex-British colony, and they're still attached to the UK. In some regard, and I think it means that the Queen is still like monarch in that country. So yeah, that is the Commonwealth, and we have the Commonwealth Games every now and then. I'm not sure when they are, to be honest. But yeah, Jenny says hello Jenny. But yeah, cool. Okay, let's move on to the next don't. So the next British culture don't, which is: don't ask direct or personal questions. So in the stereotype live stream, I spoke about British people having this stiff upper lip, reserved stereotype. And I think I said that was a false stereotype, but it does tend to be true that British people, especially English people, I would say, tend to be more reserved and indirect. So as a result of that, asking people direct personal questions about things such as their age, weight, marital status, how much money they make, will come across as a bit insulting or a bit like back off kind of. So I know that in lots of cultures, people are much more open to questions like this, so it's not seen as like a big deal. But yeah, in the UK and especially in England, I would say these questions are seen as a little bit rude. So yes, I would avoid asking these kinds of questions. However, you should. So do try your best to use indirect statements when communicating. So if you're ever a bit worried maybe about coming across as rude in the UK, then I would try using the passive voice as much as possible, because that will help make your statements seem more indirect and therefore more polite to British people. Over the Moon says, thanks for answering that question about the Commonwealth. When I went to Scotland, I scarcely could understand their accent. I love your use of scarcely. That is a brilliant word. Brilliant piece of vocab there. And that would make sense. As I was saying with the previous don't, the 4 countries in the UK have very, very different dialects and accents. So I'm not surprised that you couldn't understand the Scottish accent, because it would be really different to like the American or English accents that you might hear when you're learning English. So yeah, if you guys want to live in any of the countries in like Wales, Ireland, Scotland, I would suggest maybe like Googling or looking up and listening to their accent before you move there, so you can get more used to it. Because if you learn like American English or even English English accent, then it can be quite difficult to assimilate when you get to these countries. And their accents are like really fun. I think the Scottish and Irish accents are some of the most beautiful accents in the world, in my opinion. So yeah. Donghan said, Welsh is far different from English. Yes, that's a good point, Donghan. So there's in Wales people speak English, but they also have their own language, which is Welsh, which is so different from English. Like, it's totally different. I think it's a Gaelic language, which is why it looks and is spelled and seems so different. But it's really fascinating. I think the Welsh language has one of the like longest words ever or something, or like one of the longest like names for a place. But it's a really fun language. All right, the next don't. Don't take our jokes too seriously. So humour is used a lot in British conversation. Especially people love to make light of situations and make light-hearted jokes about the kind of context or situation that's going on. So yeah, jokes usually are situational and are often used to lighten the mood or approach difficult topics in an indirect way. So kind of related to the last slide, we are not the most confrontational people. So often if there's like a slightly awkward situation or we're dealing with like quite a tricky topic, we'll use humour and jokes to make light of it, which I think that humour in like a second language is probably one of the most difficult things to understand, because it requires not only like a really good level of that language, but a cultural understanding and also like kind of reading between the lines. A lot of inference is needed for humour. So I think that is something my students often struggle with. If you want more help or more advice about understanding British humour, or just you want to know more about British humour in general, my wonderful colleague, Steph, did a live stream all about British humour. She did a whole amazing live English class about this topic specifically. So if you haven't already, please do go to our channel and check out that lesson, because I think you guys will find it really helpful, and Steph is sensational. So yeah, that's a really good episode. But yes, so British sarcasm can be quite tricky to understand and is sometimes very, very subtle, and it's hard to know whether we're kidding or not. So in this case, don't take everything too seriously, and do remember that people are probably kidding, and just remember to take things with a pinch of salt sometimes, I suppose. Donghan asks an interesting question. He asks, how would you define Tom Hardy's accent? I can't remember what Tom Hardy sounds like. I can Google where he's from and then I can probably tell you, but maybe he'll have a different accent to where he's from. That sometimes happens with actors. Their accent kind of shifts and changes. I feel like he might be from London. Yeah, so he's from Hammersmith in London, so I guess he has like a North London accent. He probably also has received pronunciation, which is my accent as well. Most people from the south of England do. There are some areas of London that have quite a distinct accent. For example, people that are from the East End, the East London, have quite a different accent to people from North London. And I think I used to live in North London. I had some friends in North London, and that accent I think sounded a bit more similar to mine. So yeah, he probably has received pronunciation. Okay, the next don't greet people with a kiss. In some, on the cheek. Obviously not on the lips. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not obvious, but in some European countries, it's customary to greet people by giving them one kiss or maybe two kisses on each cheek. I know that's really common in France, for example. However, it seems British people are far too reserved for that. So I think people might be a little bit shocked if it's the first time you're meeting them and you go in for a kiss on the cheek. I mean, obviously, especially with COVID times, that would be very shocking. I feel like maybe this is a bit of a dated bit of advice because it's probably not very useful at the moment. But yeah, as I was saying, it's not common to kiss people you've just met on the cheek in the UK, so it might startle some people. However, if you do know that person well and you know that they'll be comfortable with that, then kissing on the cheek could be fine. It just depends on your relationship with that person. So don't kiss people on the cheek, but do shake their hand instead. Again, not advisory during COVID. So I guess maybe not shake their hand instead. These days, do the little elbow thing. That's something people do. I don't know if you do that in Korea or in any of the other countries. Tell me, actually, let me know in the comments, what have people been doing to like say hello to each other in COVID times? Something that's really popular in the UK is, like I just said, touching elbows. So being like, hello, and knocking the elbow like that. Something that I quite like doing personally is doing virtual hugs. So I'll just go like that to people if I'm like hello or like goodbye, because usually I would hug my friends. So that's my favourite one, and I think it's quite cute. Maybe these days just wave from afar, wave at them from 6 feet away. But yeah. Gayun says, I think really they used to joke so much when I heard the joke in person. So this is British people, I assume. It was quite confusing to know whether they were serious or not. But now I know that someone is absolutely joking. Yeah. So it sounds like that Gayun had a little bit of trouble getting used to knowing when British people were kidding or not. But I think just with being around British people, getting used to our culture and our conversations, maybe experiencing like watching the TV shows we watch and just like those kinds of cultural things, you will get used to it and be able to tell. And there's like a certain tone as well. There's like that sarcastic tone that people do. And I think it's just getting used to being able to listen out for that. I actually have to admit, I'm a bit of a gullible person. So even I sometimes, people will have really, it's called like deadpan humor. So someone will say like a joke, but in a really serious way, and it will always get me. Like I won't know that they're joking and I will take it totally at face value. So it's not just you guys, even I struggle as well. Chan says, what if a British person says to me seriously and I think it's just a joke? That could be an awkward situation, but just say sorry, I would say. So if you think someone's kidding and then it turns out they're not kidding, just be like, oh, sorry, I thought you were joking. And then hopefully proceed without it being too awkward. But that would be a very awkward situation. Over the Moon says, sorry, I'm going to say this name really terribly and I apologize in advance. Ye Jung Yun's acceptance speech in the BAFTAs, she called English people snobbish. Is it okay? What do you mean by is it okay? Because I'm not sure on the context because I haven't seen the speech. snobbish is a good bit of vocabulary. I would say that English people can come across as / be a bit snobbish at times. This is referring to the kind of reservedness of British people and being a little bit kind of maybe more. I mean, this is a massive stereotype, so like it's not true of everyone. But the stereotype is that British people can be reserved, or especially English people, I suppose, and is what she was talking about in her speech, is they can be a bit more reserved and not really like people expressing themselves too dramatically in public. So yeah, I reckon some English people can be snobbish sometimes, but as can everyone probably. 123 says, we kiss the cheeks even during COVID times in France. No way. I mean, first of all, I didn't know you were French, 123. That's really cool. Where in France are you from? And 2, I can't believe that you guys are still kissing each other on the cheek during COVID times. Scary. Shay says we still kiss each other, LMAO. Do you know what? I think maybe just because we're already quite prudish anyway, that's why British people aren't kissing each other. Ji Woo said, what about a hug? Obviously not with the pandemic, but also is it too much? Good question. I think the first time you meet someone, it depends on the situation, because when I first meet people in like a social setting, so say it's like a mutual friend, or like I'm meeting up with someone for like a first date, I'll probably hug them. However, if it's like at like work or like a business thing, I would not hug them. I would shake their hand. So I would say friendly meetup, if you're meeting someone and it's like a friend environment, hug them. But maybe wait for them to go in for the hug first, just in case. If it's for work or like business meeting, definitely do not hug them, and I would shake their hand. I hope that helps. Over the Moon says fist bump is the new normal these days instead of shaking hands. I mean, is that much better than shaking hands? You're still touching each other's hands. Like, if this is because of COVID, I don't see. I mean, I suppose it's like not as like much, but I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. 123 says, I'm close to Toulon. I was kidding about the kissing on the cheeks, but we used to do that in normal times. You got me, 123. See, I told you guys, I'm really gullible. All right, let's move on to the final don't. I think it's the final don't. Yes, it is. So the final don't of today's lesson. Don't be offended if someone calls you a pet name or like an affectionate name. It's really common in the UK for people in like shops or cafes to call each other by pet names such as like love, darling, sweetheart, these kinds of things. This is especially true in the north of England, where people are stereotypically more friendly. And I don't know about Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland because I actually haven't visited those countries very often, but I have a feeling that it is probably like customary in those countries as well to call each other pet names, but the type of pet name that you would call someone will be different because it's kind of based on like the slang or dialect of that area. For example, in Yorkshire, you can hear people calling each other duck, which I quite like. I think that's quite sweet. Whereas in the south of England, it'd probably be like love more commonly. And then I think people might call each other pet in Scotland. I have Scottish family and I'm pretty sure they used to call me pet when I was a little kid. So I think that might be an affectionate name that people use in Scotland. I don't know about Ireland and Wales, sadly. But yes, so don't be offended or like concerned if someone calls you darling or sweetheart. But do maybe try it out if you feel comfortable, because it is really fun and it can be like a fun way to take part in a cultural practice, I suppose. But yeah, within reason. Some safe ones to use are probably love is quite a safe one to use. I would practice with that one, maybe. if you're in a shop. You might surprise the person, but it might be quite fun. But there are certain situations where people don't really like this. I used to work in supermarkets, and I'm not sure I was always totally comfortable with older men calling me by a pet name. Like most of the time it was fairly innocuous and like fairly innocent. But sometimes I was like, it does sometimes feel a little bit patronizing. But if like an older woman called me love, then I wouldn't mind at all. So I think that kind of depends more on the person, but it is quite common. Stacey says, Korean people bow to each other when they say hi or goodbye. We normally don't hug or kiss. I think it's safer during the pandemic. For sure. And bowing seems like a really, really like respectful way to say hello to each other. I like that quite a lot. Jiwoo says, OMG, I heard these literally every day, especially love and darling, but I find that quite lovely. I really like it as well. And I feel like obviously there's this whole stereotype that we're all like very cold and reserved in the UK, which I think it's not always true. And I think this kind of phenomenon shows that we're also very friendly and open as well. Gayan says, woo, listening to this, British people use darling, sweethearts, or etc. Yes, we do. Sweetheart is also quite a common one, I think. Or sweets. That's quite like a Southern English thing to say, I think. Like, you're right, sweet. And I quite like that one. So yeah, I want to start using it more. I don't call people by like nicknames or pet names really, and I want to do that more often. Okay, so that is the end of our like lesson today. So those were the 5 mistakes that you should avoid if you ever come to the UK, and some suggestions of what to do instead. So before I reveal the answer, let's actually go back. Oh no, I went the wrong way. That was a mistake. I'll go back in a minute. So before I reveal the answer, can anyone tell me what was the name of the tallest mountain in Britain? So that was the trivia question at the beginning of the lesson, which I've accidentally revealed a little bit, but hopefully you didn't see. What was the name of the tallest mountain in Britain? Has anyone got any guesses in the chat box? Guyan says, did they say babe even though the other person is not a girlfriend or boyfriend? No, not really. Maybe. I don't know. I've not really heard it in shops, people calling each other babe, but like, I think my sister calls me babe. And I think like it's common to call each other babe like among friends, especially female friends. But yeah, maybe not so much like in a shop. Jiwoo said I totally saw that. Damn, I ruined it. But anyone still want to guess the answer in the chat? 123 said Himalayas, which might be a joke because it's not the Himalayas. But what is the tallest mountain in Britain? Chan says they have no idea. Well, you weren't looking at the screen then because I have revealed it already. In Britain, yes, Guyan. Any guesses? It's quite a tricky one. I didn't actually know this. All right, so the answer is, which I've already revealed, Ben Nevis. I believe this is in Wales. I'm going to double check. No, it's in Scotland. Good one by me. So this is the tallest mountain in the British Isles, and it's in Scotland. So yeah, Ben Nevis. All right. Time for the mini quiz. So I hope you guys are all ready for the mini quiz. Today's quiz is, I'm going to tell you a custom and I want you to guess which country these customs come from. So it's like some more do's and don'ts, but they're international do's and don'ts. Well, they're international don'ts. So can you tell me which country do you think this comes from? So I hope you're all ready for the mini quiz. All right, so number 1, don't show up late. In this country, being punctual is very important. So which country do you think this comes from? Is it Ireland, France, or Germany? Chan says already fun. Good, I'm glad. So, don't show up late. Ireland, France, or Germany? So we've got everyone so far saying Germany. Gayan says absolutely C. Xiaowu says C. Yilim says C. Chan, Chan says C. SH says C. HC also says C. And yeah, well done guys, you all got it. The answer is Germany. So yeah, well done everyone. Well done 123, Over the Moon, Jiwoo, Stacy, Gayan, all you guys, good job. Okay, next one. This was the easiest one. So this one might be a little bit more difficult. Don't leave the table during dinner. This is considered rude. Is this in Italy, Japan, or Spain? Don't leave the table during dinner. This is considered rude. Italy, Japan, or Spain? What do you guys think? Gayan says Japan. 123 thinks it's Italy. Yilim says Japan. Chan thinks it's Japan. Shay thinks it's Japan. So yeah, a lot of people going for Japan or Italy. So the answer is Italy. I put Japan in there because I thought it might throw you guys off. So yeah, the answer is Italy. It's considered rude to leave the dinner table. All right, next one. Don't order just one dish at a restaurant. This is considered weird. So is this Spain, Greece, or France? So don't order just one dish at a restaurant. This is considered weird. Spain, Greece, or France? So I did find these just on the internet, so I'm not sure how true this one is, but maybe people can correct me, so I'm not sure. But this is what they said. 123 thinks it's Greece. Chan thinks it's Spain. Stacy says Greece. Got Over the Moon and also HC saying France. Gayen saying Greece. Xiaowu thinks it's Greece. So got a big mix for this one, so no one's really sure. And the answer apparently is France. 123, you can tell me, is this totally not true or not? Because I did just find this on an article on the internet, so it could be wrong. But yeah, apparently in France, it's a bit strange to order just one dish at a restaurant. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you think that's total lies or not. Okay, next one is don't walk on the cycle paths unless you want to be run over. Is this in Holland, the UK, or Denmark? So don't walk on the cycle paths unless you would like to be run over. Is this Holland, the UK, or Denmark? And 123 says not weird, not true, weird idea. Well, fair enough. I just found it online, so don't believe everything you read online, guys, which makes sense. Yilim says Holland. Any other guesses? 123 thinks it's Holland. HC thinks it's Holland. Stacy thinks it's Denmark. Chan has no idea. Shay thinks it's Denmark. SH says Holland. Any more guesses before I reveal the answer? So the answer is Holland. And this one I know is true because they cycle a lot in Holland. So, it's a very, very flat country and most people get around Holland by bike. So you've got to be very, very careful, especially in Amsterdam, not to kind of wander into the cycle lanes because there'll be a lot of people on bikes going quite fast. So the likelihood of you getting hit by a bike is very high. So that is definitely something to be careful about if you're ever visiting Holland. Okay, is there any more? I'm not sure. There's one last one, I believe. So the final one is, don't drop a cigarette butt on the floor or you could face an expensive fine. So is this Japan, Australia, or China? Don't drop your cigarette butt on the floor or you could face an expensive fine. Am I talking about Japan, Australia, or China? Over the Moon thinks it's Australia. Chan thinks it's Japan. Gayun says Australia. Any other guesses, anyone? So the answer is 1, 2, 3 also got it. Yelim got it. Oh no, Yelim didn't get it. Sorry, Siowu got it. It is Australia. So my friend actually told me this the other day. So this I have it's like from a word of mouth fact. But she lived in Australia, and apparently, yeah, if you dropped your cigarette butt on the floor, you could be fined like $300, which is a lot of money. So yes, you've got to be very careful. Don't litter in Australia because they will fine you $300. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well done, guys. Excellent work. Good job. That is everything for today's live stream. So congratulations, you smashed the mini quiz as per usual. So yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream and had a good time. Yes, I'd just like to remind you that there will be another poll for the next live stream's topic in the community section on our YouTube channel. So please go check that out and vote and have your say on what you would like to discuss next lesson. Yes, I'd also love to remind you guys to please subscribe to our channel if you don't already do so, and hit the like button. It really helps us out. And if you are already subscribed, remember to turn on the bell icon for notifications for every time we upload, so you can always be there and you'll never miss a live stream again. Okay, cool, that's everything. 1, 2, 3 says already finished. I know, crazy, right? It went so fast. I hope you guys have a really lovely week. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all same place, same time next Friday. Jiwoo says, lovely live class as usual. Thank you for coming, Jiwoo. Siawoo says, yes. Over the Moon says, thank you. Have a nice weekend. Thank you, guys. I hope you all have lovely weekends. And yeah, take care. See you next time. Bye.